Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.
What's going on, everybody? It is a Tuesday evening, and that means it is time for the Lockdown Coverage podcast on the Prime Coverage Sports Network. Mike Tipton, joined by my guy, Sean Davich. Sean, it's been a lot of news coming out of the NFL over these last couple of weeks. Or at least for me, like it's been a couple of weeks for me. You all did a show last week. It was my birthday, or I don't know what was going on. Something happened. I was being selfish. I didn't get to be a part of the show. But Sean, a lot of stuff going on in the NFL, man. Where do you want to start today?
Where do we start? Combine was something else. I saw some impressive dash times, some impressive vertical jumps, but so far it's hard to top anything that's happened today in the NFL alone with trades, franchise tags, everything.
And you see, that's one of the things for me is I'm not a big combine guy, yet I found myself like just being inundated with like really cool, like you said, 40 times. We're off the charts for some of these people. You got big, gigantic offensive linemen out here running like sub fives. It's wild, man. It's insane, the athleticism that you get. And then, of course, something that we're going to talk about a little bit later, something I think you and I can say we're both jealous of. The most beautiful flowing mane of hair in the history of the NFL.
Never seen anything like it
at the combine. It was absolutely beautiful. But let's start a little bit about free agency. I think that's where we've seen a lot of stuff. We see the news. It was kind of mentioned out there before that Kenneth Walker III was not going to get the franchise tag, and it was, I guess, verified today that it's just not going to happen. They're not going to give him anything. The Seattle Seahawks willing to let the Super Bowl MVP hit free agency. And I'm a little torn on this. And before I get to that, Sean, I want to get your opinion on it.
Well, as we both saw, I think our colleagues were, we were talking about how undervalued the running back position is in the NFL these days. It's more of a passing league than anything else. Having said that, though, he was the Super Bowl MVP. It's pretty rare to see Super Bowl MVPs depart in the same offseason. I have seen it before, but it's rare. Wherever he lands up, he's going to get a nice payday. It won't be here in Minnesota. There's too much salary cap hell here.
Yeah, I think that's the wildest thing here. But again, like I know that we've said it before that it feels like the running back is being devalued, and it really does kind of lean that way, that everything's getting devalued in the running back position and whatnot. But you kind of have to. Saquon Barkley has shown that running back, like Christian McCaffrey's out there as a really good running back. A really good running back is hard to find. And whenever you have a guy like Kenneth Walker, who did put your team on his back in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl, to just let that walk away is weird to me, man. Like you don't see that happen very often. And I feel like it's only the running back position that gets this kind of disrespected.
Certainly seems to be that way. It certainly seems like the only NFL running backs that succeed these days are the ones that can do it all. We saw it a year ago with Saquon Barkley, everything he did with Philadelphia. McCaffrey got a little bit back to that last year. He's good when he's healthy, but pure rushers in the NFL these days are incredibly rare. It has to be somebody who's capable of doing it all, catching, blocking. Those seem to be the only running backs that have tenure on their teams these days.
And it's sad, right? Because you see, like we've seen it in real time, the devaluation of the running back position.
Yes.
And I grew up a Cowboys fan in the 90s. I love me some Emmitt Smith, love me some Ezekiel Elliott. I love running backs. Love me some Barry Sanders. And I feel like even in this day and age, those guys aren't going to get the love that they deserve if they were playing this day and age.
No, they would not. And, you mentioned the guys like Smith, Sanders, even Adrian Peterson here, who – he was all the Vikings had for a little while when quarterback play was incompetent in the most of the late 2000s, early 2010s. He carried that team on his back. He's the last non-quarterback MVP, for crying out loud.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that, and that's going back a ways for Adrian Peterson to be the MVP. I did not even think of that. And again, it shows you the devaluation because last year it should have been Saquon Barkley. right? Like the way he carried the Eagles, we saw the difference in the Eagles with him, the difference in the Eagles without him. Not last year, but I guess the season before.
Right, when they won the Super Bowl.
It's wild to see the way that we've just kind of, running backs, they don't matter. Augustine asking, what's the name of the guy on the left? I'm not sure if he's talking about me because on my screen, I'm on the left. And on your screen, maybe you're on the left. I don't know, but it's Mike Tipton and Sean Davich. We're hanging out with each other here on the Lockdown Coverage Podcast. And DC1Y or DCLY saying Eagles, I think, are rebuilding, right? I don't think the Eagles need to rebuild. It doesn't seem like
no, they don't. They've been on top of the NFC East for years now. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But I mean, if the problems with their coaching staff continue, there might be a change.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think we can look at the Eagles roster and say that team has a ton of talent, but they also last year underachieved, and being the best team in the NFC East, again, not the toughest division out there to win. Maybe in the future it'll get out there, but saying you're the premier team in the NFC East isn't the title I think anybody wants right now with how depleted the NFC East has looked over the last couple of years. DCLY saying, thank you guys for explaining. Augustine saying it's not a devaluation. It's what the NFL are going to do. It's the more exciting part of the NFL, the pass. So talking about, running backs getting disrespected because the NFL is a passing league. Where I'll say, look at the last couple of Super Bowl champions. They've had to have a solid running game to dominate the way that they've ran. And then Augustine continuing to say running backs need to be more complete. It's not just run. They have to be McCaffrey types from now.
Right. And I just hit on that a second ago. He's right. They have to be more of the complete package these days.
But also with that, you run the possibility of him being hurt. Like Christian McCaffrey is hurt a lot.
Right? And for a reason.
This year, but
you have to mix him in properly enough. If you overuse a guy like that, he'll get injured. And who takes more hits in the league these days than running backs? There's a reason their careers are not as long as others.
And then you got a guy like so. Let's talk about that, right? Like let's juxtapose this here, because you have a guy like Kenneth Gainwell, who's in Pittsburgh, who led the team in receiving and also led the team in rushing yards. That guy's still not going to get paid. Like even though he's an awesome player for them, they don't have to pay him a huge contract at the end of the day because they can just say, F it, we'll move on from this guy. Like he doesn't bring them any added value. And I would say he is, if that's what we're talking about, he is the complete package of running back here. And that should be the premier guy that we go out there and pay.
Well, and Steelers offense really wasn't all that elite this year either. So maybe they'd have a different kind of tune if their offense was better. You'd think with an Aaron Rodgers under center, they'd be better, but they weren't elite this year. There's a reason they were barely division champions, barely there in the playoffs.
Well, and that's also the thing, right? Like whenever you have a geriatric Aaron Rodgers out there, slinging the ball around, trying to do all that stuff, I think your team is in a lot more trouble than just at the running back position. Augustine saying McCaffrey gets the ball 35 times a game. That's way too much at his age, and running back's career is over at 32.
Certainly more common than not.
Most running backs, I would say, would be lucky to hit 32. It's
right.
only 3 or 4 years, if even that.
I mean, when Adrian Peterson was about 30, that's when his Vikings career ended, somewhere around that time. He hasn't been elite since then.
I was going to say, but that's one of the greatest running backs in the history of the game. I think
but what I'm saying is even he wore down by 32, and that was it by age 30.
The one that's going to be interesting to watch is going to be Derrick Henry, right? Like, how does age get him? Because he's still the fumbling last year, I feel like was an anomaly, but I still would not want to try to tackle Derrick Henry coming at me at full speed.
No, he's still got some good football left in him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what was I was watching a TikTok or a reel the other day, and it was talking about how much Derrick Henry has ran since high school, college, and in the NFL. And it was an insane amount of just yards and feet and miles. And whenever you put it all together, like that guy he's got some miles on him. But again, shows no signs to me, at least, of slowing down. The fumbling, yes, I will say that was a huge problem for him, but he's still fun to me. Augustine's saying that he's right. I don't know what Augustine is right about. What is Augustine?
Probably the running back thing in general, their careers being over at a certain age or having to be more than just pure rushers.
Yeah, but I don't think that's news to anybody. Like, we all know your running back is the position that's going to get beat up the most.
Yeah, they take more hits than anybody else. They're undervalued and some would maybe even say underappreciated.
You sent us a link in our little group chat that we have over on Facebook, and it was a post from Adam Schefter talking about players who were not tagged today and will be allowed to become free agents.
Right.
We have Kenneth Walker on there, who we just spoke about.
Yep.
Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, Chargers defensive end Odafe Owe, Jaguars running back Travis Etienne, Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum, and Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. Out of that list of guys, who here do we think is going to be the one to make the most money going forward? Like, who's going to get that long-term contract going forward?
It's either going to be Linderbaum or Hendrickson, I think. Lindenbaum's one of the best centers in the league, and offensive line is another underrated part of the game. So wherever he goes, maybe he'll return to Baltimore, maybe he'll go somewhere else. He'll get money.
That's exactly what I was leaning towards. It's going to be along the line, right? Like, whether it's offensive or defensive line. I'm leaning more towards Hendrickson just because there's more of a premium on a defensive end who can get to the get to the quarterback.
True.
And again, center isn't sexy. Like, obviously, offensive linemen get paid. Like, if you don't know what contracts in the NFL look like, offensive linemen get paid. They get theirs. You're big and fat, you make money. That's the way that it goes right there. But the defensive end position, to me, they've put such a premium on that, right? Like, it's the tackles. Left and right tackle is super important, quarterback, and then getting to the quarterback at that defensive end. I just don't know if I believe that Trey Hendrickson has that the NFL is going to go out there and give Trey Hendrickson a huge contract, right? Like, he's on the opposite end of 30. You don't know how much more he's got left in the tank. But out of that list, he's got to be the guy to me that's going to get the biggest contract. He's
now the biggest name on the market at his position, so
yeah,
he'll have a suitor maybe even within a week.
And that's the funny thing about it. Like, everything that's going to happen within the next few days. This is supposed to be the off season for the NFL. It's supposed to be just easy breezy news, and it seems like it's just been hitting us over the head with all kinds of stuff that's going on out there. Like the
news complaint gives us more to talk about, doesn't it?
I mean, that's the best part about it, right? Yeah. Like, the news with the Cardinals are set to cut Kyler Murray next week. I would not have thought. I thought they were going to go to their grave thinking that guy was going to be their quarterback of the future. But since that's a source now that's going to be out there that they're going to move on from Kyler Murray, one, is there even a market for Kyler Murray? And two, who the hell do you replace him with, Arizona? Because you don't have the number one overall pick to go out there and get, a Fernandez or anybody like that. And this is a really weak quarterback class in my mind.
Well, in free agency, there are guys out there like, let's see here, Geno Smith and obviously Murray. Now they're not going to bring him back. Kirk Cousins. But the interesting thing about Kyler Murray is, do you remember the situation with Russell Wilson a few years ago where one of his previous teams had to eat a ton of his salary and he was able to sign with a team for basically next to nothing? That was when he joined Pittsburgh at that time.
Yep.
Murray's in the same boat. So I would guess teams like the Vikings who have salary cap problems will maybe consider it. But Murray is one way or another an experienced quarterback in this league. So whoever takes a chance on him won't have to cough up a ton. So it's low risk, high reward, the way I see it with Murray. Even if I personally don't think the highest of him, which, I really don't. I wouldn't want to see him here.
Augustine saying, you think you know sports, you got a UTEP shirt on. What the hell is that? Look, man, I'm repping my alma mater where I graduated, where I got my undergrad degree from. Like let me rep my school, man. And plus, I was outside doing a bunch of hard manual labor today. I needed a shirt. I didn't mind getting dirty, and this is the one. So I apologize for offending the sports fans out there by representing UTEP, who hasn't won jack squat. Another word was about to come out there. But they haven't won nothing since 1967, and that's to include a bowl game. They've been to 6 total bowl games since 1967, and they ain't won one yet. And
they also produced Aaron Jones, who another soon-to-be free agent here in Minnesota. So that's another thing.
And that's the thing that hurts me as, again, a Utah fan, as a dude that loves Aaron Jones, really good dude. If you've ever got the chance to meet him, he is extremely genuine in his kindness.
That's what I hear.
Being that he is. And it hurts me to see that he's not going to be on a team like that. He just got cut outright, right? Like you couldn't trade him because you're not going to be able to, no one's going to trade for him, right? Like, but the second you say you're going to either trade him or release him, you might as well just release him because you're not going to find a trade partner. You have zero leverage in the trade game here.
Well, and that's what stinks about the NFL in general. Yeah. You know, if you it's a business in most ways.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a business in all ways, but
it's like, you know, in the business side of it, they won't care too much about how you feel. They need to do what's best for the team.
Augustine saying, yeah, I can't talk bad about Aaron Jones. He's a good guy, and if you know anything about Augustine, he will find anything to say negative about anybody, including me, someone that he considers a friend. He'll find any way that he can to say something.
He just wants to make his mark on here.
Okay,
just like when a friend of mine was crashing with comments last week.
I mean, that's the way that they got to do it, man. Thank you for the love and support to our friends who helped.
To all of you.
What we've seen the devaluation of the running back. Like we know that that's exactly what it is. Despite Augustine saying it's not a devaluation, it's just the trend that the NFL is going. What could the market look like for Aaron Jones? Because I feel like most teams right now would say, I've got a halfway decent running back that I trust.
It depends on how much Aaron Jones is willing to sign for. He still got some good football left in him. Maybe he could join one of those teams that, may need a veteran back on their team and has the space for him. I still think he can succeed. He didn't find the end zone as much as I would have liked his 2 years here, but still a very likable guy, still did what he was supposed to do. Vikings just weren't a great rushing team last year, and they've got some salary cap issues to fix. So my understanding is Mason will be the guy. They'll probably be targeting a running back in the draft, and I certainly hope Jones finds a suitor. Everybody tells me he's a good guy. I have friends who know him, and that's all I hear is he's a good guy.
Great guy. You know where I'm going to lean, because I am the diehard idiot Dallas Cowboys fan that I am. I would love to see him in Dallas. I know that they just gave Javonte Williams a contract, extend him out, do this and that, but it's a dual running back league. I feel like you have to have multiple running backs to help get you through the end of this season. So why not have a guy like Aaron Jones? Let's see what he'll sign for. Maybe he comes to Dallas, but the Cowboys are, as always, in salary cap hell, despite somehow having a ton of salary cap at the end of the season.
Always seems to happen when Jerry Jones is running your franchise, doesn't it?
Well, the team makes a ton of money.
They gave Pickens the tag.
Augustine's just a hater. He hates everything I like. I can like oxygen, and he'll tell me that carbon dioxide is better for me. That's just the way that he is.
If he weighs in, we'll know that for sure. Won't we? But
okay, so
we're on the subject of Murray. We're talking the subject of free agent quarterbacks, running backs.
Yeah. So let's look up. I got to bring it up here. I don't have the list in front of me. Maybe you do have it in front of you. Let's talk about some of the free agents that we've got out here.
So that's going to include somebody like ETN. I can see him finding a home pretty quick too.
You see, that's where I don't know, man. Like, he's been a massive underachiever, at least in my mind, a massive underachiever his time in Jacksonville. I mean, he basically lost that position to Bashal Tutin. You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't know.
That's true. I mean,
it's a weird class as I look at some of the names that are on here, right? Like, you got Tyreek Hill. We spoke about the Diva wide receivers a couple of weeks ago. We spent way too much time on the Diva wide receivers. Trey Hendrickson, Mike Evans. That's a huge name that I would love to see him land at a contender, get one more shot at a Super Bowl. But I also feel like Tampa Bay was kind of on the verge of being a contender. There was a ton of injuries for them last year,
especially at the running back position. It put a lot of more pressure on Baker than that was necessary. He won't sign anywhere unless he gets, 8 figures. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Augustine saying, in all honesty, the NFL is changing once again. but they want an exciting league. The NFL craves a world audience, and that's why they will concentrate in passing. I know, like the deep ball, all that stuff is passing is sexy, but whenever you break off a nice long run, the running back breaks 1,000 tackles, Marshawn Lynch, and you cause you register on the Richter scale whenever you stiff arm somebody and the crowd goes wild, like that type of stuff. That to me is real football. I'm showing my age right now. That's what football was. I never thought that I would be one of these guys, Sean, where I wind up becoming get off my lawn guy. But football back in the day, whenever they were running the ball, that's when I fell in love with it. And we need to go back that way.
I share your excitement with that. I remember seeing running backs succeeding more, certainly around 20 years ago when it wasn't so much of a pass-heavy league. Guys were like LT and ADP were still around.
Yeah.
Hall of Famers when you knew they were Hall of Famers when you watch them. Maybe it was just more exciting back in the day. It's not as glorious now because we've seen passing so much.
I think that's the thing too. Is like it's kind of the same thing with baseball. The same thing with the NBA. If you have more. If you have the ability to get points faster, like you hit the home run, you get to trot around the bases, you get to score runs, right? You hit the 3-pointer. It's more.
That's what everybody wants to see. Just the scoring.
Yep. But also, it's what people complain about the most, which is what I don't understand. Like you see it with the NBA, right? Like, I hate the 3-pointers. But you know what the most viewed thing at the All-Star game was? The 3-point contest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, we got to figure this all out.
Just casting around for something to complain about, I guess. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's the 3-pointer that's too exciting, they make a big deal about something else. If they make a big deal about that, they complain about the 3-pointer, more of that.
Yeah.
So if it's not one thing, it's another. It's just constant complaining. There's always one thing wrong, and it's always never the same.
Augustine saying, you drive a Gran Torino, don't you? Great underrated movie. I love that movie.
Who does he think you are, John Turturro or something?
I guess so. Like I'm apparently Clint Eastwood, according to him right now. Just get off my lawn, guy, spitting all types of racial epithets out there. It's not what I do, Augustine, but I do drive a Ford Mustang, so maybe it's close. We're getting close there. We were talking about Trey Hendrickson at the edge rushing position, and here are some other names, some edge rushers that are out there that might get paid more. But like the more I'm looking at these names, the more I'm like, maybe not, man. We have Trey Hendrickson on here, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick. Ooh, let's play a game. Would you rather take Trey Hendrickson or Khalil Mack?
Mack's a little up there in age, is he not?
35 years old. Trey Hendrickson is 31.
Hendrickson, given his reputation, he'll probably get more money. But, Mack's a trustworthy playmaker. He still has some good football left in him. He could be a cheaper option for somebody who isn't in as dire need of a pass rusher. It's tough to say between the two. Hendrickson obviously comes to mind first because, everything he's done, Cincinnati refusing to pay him.
Yeah.
So,
look, might be a good move for Cincinnati because they need so much more than just defensive end.
I know they're one of those teams that focus on 3 positions and don't really value too much of anything else. I remember Wags mentioning that before. Just like pay the 3 skill positions, don't worry about anything else; it'll take care of itself. When's Joe Burrow had decent protection while he's been quarterback back there?
Yeah. Okay, so
I guess I would take a bigger. I guess Hendrickson, he's the bigger playmaker. I'd probably take more of a chance on him, but if he breaks the bank, better be worth every penny.
Trey Hendrickson or Joey Bosa? Joey Bosa is 30 and a half years old.
Can we trust his health though?
I mean, you're the GM here.
I don't know. He's really good. He's had some problems with injuries. Who'd you say, Bosa or Hendrickson?
Or Hendrickson.
Yeah. Yeah, unless I have the money to spend, I would probably go with Bosa.
What do we go? Bosa over Cam Jordan?
Jordan's probably getting up there in age now too, isn't he? Probably in his
He is 36.6 years old. I like how they have 0.6 on here.
They do that for average age of teams, don't they?
Yeah.
When Cam Jordan was younger, he was one of the best playmakers in football. I don't know if the Saints will bring him back. I don't know what their plans are with him, but Jordan or Bosa, I think that's what you said, right?
No, Hendrickson because
Hendrickson, excuse me.
Bosa because he won the last round. Yes.
Yeah. Probably Bosa just because of his age. How many 36-year-old linemen are dominant forces in the league these days? Now, I'm not saying you have to be dominant to succeed in this league. You just need to be a playmaker. But who's more capable of that maybe at this time?
Once again, 30-and-a-half-year-old Joey Bosa or a 26.8-year-old Jalen Phillips from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Probably Phillips.
Oh.
Age is a little I haven't seen a lot of Phillips play over the last few years, so
and that's what I was going to say. Like the injury concern is there with him more than with Bosa, I'd say.
That's true. Yeah, I remember it was either last year or the year before when Bosa had that knee injury, and that limited his time. And when you have an injury history like that, teams can be reluctant to sign you.
So out of that small list of names here, because like we still have, there is an insane amount of edge rushers that are out there as free agents right now. Like that list was just going on and on and on and on. But out of that list of names that we got, and we got to include Von Miller on there as well. I don't think Von Miller is getting himself a contract at 37 years old, unfortunately, right?
Unless he wanted limited, was okay with more limited playing time.
I mean, yeah, just come in and third down on like definitive rush the quarterback situations,
right? And I can see that with some of those older players too.
Why would you pay a guy X amount of money just for that, though? You know what I mean? Like,
no, and that depends on how much he would want.
Yeah,
and you'd have to decide if he's worth it at his age.
So I'm looking at this list, and it really does seem like it's either Joey Bosa or Trey Hendrickson as the best option right now at the defensive end.
It certainly seems that way. And then it comes down to money for another thing. Cap's bigger this year.
Yes, which is a good thing, in my opinion, at least.
And then you consider how they fit into your scheme, whether you run a 4-3-3-4, and how often you come off the edge. Michael Parsons came from anywhere. That's why he, commanded so much talent when he was traded last year. But there aren't too many like him either, so.
I was gonna say, that's going to be the guy that, and again, as a Cowboys fan, I hate the fact that the Cowboys moved on from Micah Parsons. You don't get a lot like that. And then one of the names I saw on here that I probably should have just brought up for S&Gs was Jadeveon Clowney, because I think no one in their career made more than Jadeveon Clowney did off of one play in college.
It's incredible how he's not even talked about anymore. Just does anybody really even remember him now? I remember him because of college, as you said, and
yeah,
all I really remember is him making one or two real spectacular plays in the league. He's been bouncing around.
I'll say it's mainly with like those early years with the Texans whenever he was like the guy. But the crazy thing is he misses, X amount of games at the beginning of the season because he signs with Dallas right before the trade deadline, and then winds up leading the Cowboys in sacks, which once again talks about how terrible the Dallas Cowboys defensive line was last year whenever that guy could just walk in off the streets and lead your team in sacks. It's a sad state of affairs. But he was a good locker room guy, which is something I don't really associate with Jadeveon Clowney. Maybe now that he's older, that's something you bring into the locker room. Again, only 33 years old. But in NFL terms, that's almost ancient.
It is. And he'd probably be another one of those guys who'd have to settle for limited snaps, maybe play in certain situations like if a team's running off tackle or if they're want to send extra pressure coming from one side.
A guy that I think is going to be interesting, at least for defensive purposes, is the former Dallas Cowboy, former Green Bay Packer from last year, Trayvon Diggs. I had a love-hate relationship with Trayvon Diggs as a Dallas Cowboys fan, just because, yes, he can lead the league in interceptions. He is a ball hawk. His brother was a great wide receiver, taught him how to be a receiver as a cornerback. Yep. But he also gives up a ton of yards and a ton of big plays, misses a lot of tackles. 28 years old, though, only his 5th year in the league. There has to be a market for a guy like that, right?
You'd think so. And I'm half serious when I say this, half joking. Maybe he should be a receiver because I just don't think of him that highly as a coverage guy. He's got speed. He does tend to be a ball magnet, and I think he had a Pro Bowl honor one of those last few years just for the number of interceptions he had. What did he have, like 10 or 11 the year he got a Pro Bowl vote?
Yeah, he had 11 interceptions that year, and I
think that's the only reason he got that Pro Bowl nod.
And you see, that's the thing that frustrates me, and again, if I can just vent my frustrations as a Dallas Cowboys fan, is in back-to-back seasons, you have Trayvon Diggs lead the league in interceptions, and then the next season, Trayvon Diggs gets hurt, so Deron Bland comes in, fills that position, leads the league in interceptions, and then sets an NFL record with 6 pick sixes that season. And then they both get on the field, and they just can't cover anybody. Like you give them a blanket, they couldn't cover somebody. Like it was insane. The fall off the two of those guys had.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he certainly couldn't replicate it in Green Bay. That's why he didn't last there. I think I'm not sure what his market is going to be. Maybe he should consider being a receiver. He's a ball magnet and he's got the open field speed, but I've just seen him burn so many times in the league.
I think that's the thing too, right? Like that's going to be the issue with him. That's why it was so easy for the Cowboys to move on, was because all he was doing was getting burned left and right. And you can't be a cornerback giving up a bunch of plays. Like, sure, you're going to get an interception here or there, but if you're giving up 5 touchdowns per interception, it doesn't seem like the math is mathing for me there.
It's not worth the effort to bring him back in that case. Interceptions are only part of the game. You got to stay with your receiver. He's got the speed to do it, but he's just not worth he just wasn't worth it in Dallas anymore.
Let's move on to the quarterback position here, because I think this is very interesting, right? Like, we were talking about some names that are out there that maybe these guys can bounce around. They're going to be joined by Kyler Murray, who's going to go out here into free agency as well. I don't see Kirk Cousins on here yet. Have they not like officially done it?
I don't think they're going to release him until the official start of the league year, which I believe is a week from tomorrow, the 11th.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's when a lot of these moves are going to be made, is the official start of the league year. But you might as well put Cousins on that list because he's going to be a free agent.
So let's add Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins on here, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor. I think we can just say those guys are backups for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, agreed.
Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mitch Trubisky. Like, I'm looking at this list, and it's not a good quarterback list right here. Even whenever you add Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins on there as well. Like, it just, there is nothing on this list. Gardner Minshew, I just love me some Gardner Minshew. But you got Sam Howell, Teddy Bridgewater, who I'm surprised is still in the league, Malik Willis. Like, none of these guys on here on this list really make me feel confident if I'm going after them as a quarterback.
No, it's not really a crown jewel of there's not really a real standout between all those guys. You mentioned, longtime backups. Just about all those guys have been backups their entire careers. They present you maybe with solid number 2 options, if that's what you want, which some teams would need. But guys who can step up and start.
You're not bringing in, those first 4 guys that we spoke about there: Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, and Kyler Murray as a solid number 2 quarterback option.
No, those are guys who probably will want to start.
And
especially Rodgers.
Circle back to this. So Augustine says, what about Kyler Murray going over to the Miami Dolphins?
Well, I think he's a right-handed Tua.
I don't see the difference in them. Like, maybe a stronger arm, possibly. But, I mean, why would you move on from Tua to go and get another Tua.
Yeah, exactly. Just a right-handed Tua. It's not exactly an upgrade.
Dude,
They'll just justify by saying it's a change.
Do we feel like Miami just sticks with Quinn Ewers this year?
I've been wondering about that. He has some upside, but is he quite ready for the NFL? That remains to be seen. And maybe that's why they'll take a chance on him. But they'll bring in another guy to compete with him.
In limited action last year, he did solid. I just think he's got to have a better veteran presence, and maybe that's where you bring in a guy like Teddy Bridgewater or a Gardner Minshew, right? Like a guy that's kind of bounced around a little bit, which is weird to think. Gardner Minshew's been in the NFL for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. I don't think he's been in the league that long. I still picture him at Washington State, man.
And you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, a name that's still popular here. He's a native of that nearby area, and he's been with the Dolphins organization months before. So was it Tampa that had him last? I believe.
I think it was Tampa that had him.
I think it was Tampa too. Yeah, I could see him staying around the area if he wanted to be one of those veteran presences to compete with Ewers. If he wanted to go back to the league, he's come out of retirement at least twice though.
Yeah.
So,
but again, just a veteran guy out there. Augustine asking, Ewers was the quarterback for the Hurricanes or the Longhorns? He was the quarterback for the Longhorns, but he plays currently for the Miami Dolphins.
Right. He was the guy before Arch Banning in Longhornville.
Man, what happens with Arch is going to be intriguing to watch. But like, maybe what would you take if you're Miami? Would you take a flyer on like an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, a Joe Flacco to kind of go in there and kind of guide? Again, it's only going to be a second season. Quinn Ewers along and like help him out, learn from one of those guys.
I don't know if Rodgers will go to Miami. I could see him maybe playing very, very possibly here, maybe in Pittsburgh one more time under Mike McCarthy for old time's sake, because they know each other well. And I think that's when Rodgers played his best football, is when McCarthy was his coach. But neither of them are the same guys anymore. So I would say he probably does not go to Miami. But they can bring it. But I can see him bringing in a guy like maybe Flacco. He's been around this league. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got a huge arm, and he knows the game.
And last year he was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Some way, somehow he was a Pro Bowl quarterback. I'll never be able to wrap my head around how the Browns had 2 Pro Bowlers.
2 Pro Bowlers and a 2-time Coach of the Year, and somehow still were the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah,
it's so much fun to me.
So mind-boggling and fun to laugh at.
What about Josh Johnson? Do we bring Josh Johnson in for the Miami Dolphins?
I highly doubt that.
Has Josh Johnson played for the Miami Dolphins? I think is the better question here. Because if you don't know, Josh Johnson, 17 teams that he's played for?
Yeah, and his career spans back to at least 2009 when I think he was still in the Tampa Bay organization.
That's so wild to me.
That's incredible, yeah.
I absolutely love it. You're right. He started in 2009.
And I remember that because that was when Josh Freeman took over the reins there once Jeff Garcia wore out his welcome there. When he was a bounce-around quarterback.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I only see a couple of different – but I know he had multiple stints with, like, teams.
Yeah.
So maybe –
the only thing I remember well was him being in Tampa because of the QB situation that took place there after Garcia left and when John Gruden got fired. They bring in what's his name, Morris.
Yes.
At that time.
Okay, so
that was an interesting situation back then when Johnson got his beginning in this league.
I just want to go over and show some appreciation here of Josh Johnson's career, if I can, if you don't mind, Sean, because I love
a little bit of what McCown did in the late part of his career, him being kind of a journeyman.
So Josh Johnson, 2008 to 2011, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's where we all kind of fell in love with him and learned about who the guy was. San Francisco 49ers in 2012, Sacramento Mountain Lions in 2012, Cleveland Browns in 2012, Cincinnati Bengals in 2013, back to San Francisco in 2014, back to the Cincinnati Bengals in 2015, New York Jets in 2015, Indianapolis Colts in 2015, Buffalo Bills in 2015. If you're keeping count, that's 4 teams in 2015 that he was a part of. The Baltimore Ravens in 2016, the New York Giants in 2016, stuck the whole season with the Houston Texans in 2017, the Oakland Raiders in 2018, along with the San Diego Fleet. Never heard of them, but hey, they must be all right. The Washington Commanders, I'm not going to say the other word right now, in 2018. The Detroit Lions in 2019. The Los Angeles Wildcats in 2020. The San Francisco 49ers for the third time in
Oh, my goodness.
The New York Jets for the second time in 2021. Back to Baltimore in 2021. The Denver Broncos in 2022. Guess what happened in 2022 as well? Back to the San Francisco 49ers.
So that's 4 tenures?
4 different stints with the San Francisco 49ers. The Baltimore Ravens in 23 and 24 stuck around a little bit. And then last season with the Washington Commanders. I love this career arc, man. That is, you will never find that again.
No, you won't. I wonder if they value him as a real good clipboard holder or something.
The fact that for 17 seasons he's bounced in and out of the NFL and finds himself on a roster in the year of our Lord 2025 is amazing to me.
How many snaps has he had in his career? Bouncing around that much, he's either a real good clipboard holder or somebody has faith that he'll be able to take over in an emergency situation.
That's we're talking about it. Locker room guy, great locker room guy, has to be a great locker room guy.
Great locker room guy, maybe provides great wisdom on the sidelines. Normally, when I saw that guy in uniform, he'd be holding a clipboard.
We saw last year, or the last couple of years, actually, yeah, Zach Wilson did get a start with Miami and won a game with Miami last year. Does a team take a flyer on a guy that was a really high draft pick in the first round, or have we kind of seen the end of what Zach Wilson can do?
I don't think his time in the league's complete just yet. He may need another backup opportunity and maybe be one of those guys who will step in if somebody gets hurt, and maybe that's when he reproves himself. I've seen that happen with quarterbacks in the league. We saw it with Case Keenum all those years ago here in Minnesota. It got him, contracts with other teams, even if he didn't replicate his success. But who knows if Wilson's ever going to be that successful again? I mean, was he ever another one of those guys who's going to be designated to be a somewhat valuable backup?
Was he ever truly successful? I know that's a mean thing to say, but I mean,
I see what you're saying. I would say he's never been great. I think he's shown flashes, but he's never been great.
What about everybody's favorite Italian quarterback, Tommy DeVito, who last year was on the New England Patriots? I did not know he was on the New England Patriots, if I'm being completely honest here. I thought he was still a New York Giant. Came, to the forefront of the entire world whenever his agent, who is the greatest person of all time, the greatest marketer of all time, was able to kind of climb the ranks of the world and show the world what Tommy DeVito had. I was about to call him Danny DeVito, but what Tommy DeVito had. Is there a market out there for our guy, Tommy Cutlets?
I mean, I'll say, unless he is also represented by the agent that represents Kirk Cousins, I'll say he's second best to Kirk's agent. But no, I knew he was not a Giant last year, but I also did not know he was in New England. If his name is on the free agency list again, I mean, everybody knew who he was after 1 or 2 starts with New York, pulling an upset here and there. But, he won't be starting anywhere anytime soon. He has to go somewhere where he can be, have a chance, maybe as a backup. Another one of those guys who you probably tutor.
I feel like he's destined for the UFL or the USFL. Is that what it is now?
Something like that, and maybe possibly within a year or two if he's unable to catch on in the league again.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk running back, because we were talking this a little bit earlier. It seems to me, at least, like a pretty stacked running back free agent class right now. Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, Travis Etienne, Rico Dowdle, who I'm surprised is a free agent right now. Nick Chubb, not so surprising. Kenneth Walker III, J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Gainwell is out there. Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, A.J. Dillon, Alexander Madison, which I was surprised with, is a free agent as well. Out of those names, anybody stick out to you?
Well, I'm not totally surprised Madison's back on the free agent list. He never panned out here in Minnesota. But getting back to what we talked about, the undervaluation of the running back position, good running backs, available, as you said. How many people are talking about them right now? They're not.
Yeah.
Because everybody's so focused on, quarterbacks, maybe a couple receivers here and there. But we're not hearing too much about running backs that are available. And those are running backs who have made good names for themselves at times in this league.
I was Rico Dowdle, 2 years ago, was a 1,000-yard rusher for the Dallas Cowboys.
He was.
Basically carried the Carolina Panthers through a weird stretch of time with the Carolina Panthers. Like, he was unstoppable for a good 6 games there.
Yeah.
And to now just be tossed aside, it's strange to see that as well. And then obviously Kareem Hunt, I feel like Kareem Hunt is going to find a way to get re-signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. It just feels like that's where he belongs, as like a goal line running back.
Yeah, he's got some speed, but he doesn't have as much of that anymore. So probably another one of those goal line guys, yeah. And then, we mentioned those other names like Walker, ETN. Walker will get done with somebody.
Isaiah Pacheco, also a free agent running back right now.
Now that's a little bit of a surprise. I thought he had tremendous success with the Chiefs.
It felt like the year they made it to the Super Bowl, he was
a big part of it. Yeah, he was a big part of it.
Will Mahomes be able to play after that injury? Yes, he will. But if I'm Kansas City, I'm not letting him play next year at all. At
all, really.
You have nothing to play for. Like if Mahomes comes back, it's not going to be whether or not you make the playoffs or whether or not you win a Super Bowl. And with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, it's got to be Super Bowl or bust, right? And to me, you can't run him out there if the team isn't good enough. And as we saw this season, even healthy, that team was vastly flawed. Go through this season, take your lumps, get your L's, get that ass handed to you, retribution for winning 3 out of 5 Super Bowls. Just get whatever. Get a high draft pick and start rebuilding around Patrick Mahomes. Get him some talent, get him on the offensive line, get something out there to protect that man, because that is your long-term investment. This season, to me, for Kansas City is just a wash. Throw it away. You got nothing to play for. You got nothing to prove. Let Patrick Mahomes get healthy and completely healthy. Don't throw him out there before he needs to be out there because you think something good is going to happen for a team that is not going to be a good team next year.
Well, one thing's for sure, they're not going to rush him back because he's the center point of that franchise. So we know for sure they won't rush him back. Because the injury happened late in the season, it's possible he may not be back until close to midseason, and we'll probably know what KC's fate is here and there. Maybe I highly doubt he'll be held out all of next season, but I also highly doubt he'll be back at the beginning of the year because ACLs are tricky. They're hard to recover from in a short amount of time. And, because he's so valuable, like I said, he may not be back till close to midseason, and we'll know what kind of team the Chiefs are then. And if they're bad, they probably should be taken for draft picks.
So there is something to be said where you have guys that can come back and be perfectly fine within 9 months of ACL reconstruction. Hell, Adrian Peterson did it, right? Like
he sure did. The year he won MVP, as a matter of fact.
Everyone thought that he wasn't going to be able to make it, came back, dominated the league, did what he needed to do. But he was a physical specimen. Patrick Mahomes is not. He's
not.
Healthy fat, right? Like he's the healthy fat guy. Like if he was in the 1950s, he would be in great shape for the 1950s. But he's in the 2020s. And that guy, he loves him a beer. He loves him a cheeseburger. Who doesn't? I'm not judging. I'm a big fat guy. I can talk about big fat guy things. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't taken care of his body the way that Adrian Peterson took care of his body. Don't rush that big blub of dough out there and see what's going to go on with him.
Yeah, and that's why you can't rush him back. Too valuable, and he does need to take care of himself. He claims he's ahead of the recovery process, but won't everybody say that when they're coming off an injury like that?
I was about to say,
just to get everybody, going.
So I've got the scar on my knee to talk about the ACL reconstruction that I had where they took my patellar tendon, and I was, doing all the workouts and doing all that stuff. I wanted to get back to my military career and do all the stuff that I wanted to do, and I was ahead of schedule, and I thought everything was going to go good. You know what happened to me? whenever I said I was good to go and ahead of schedule, I can't feel the left side of my leg from my knee down because I rushed it back so fast. Mahomes, don't do it, right? And again, you got much more writing on the line than what I had. I was just a guy in the Air Force. You are the face of a franchise of the NFL. Do not rush that man back. Do not play in 2026. Let's just get ready and reload for 2027, where then you'll be a terrifying team.
And if they're smart, they'll at least hold him out maybe half the season because he got injured so late last year.
And that's the thing.
Kansas City was very flawed last year.
It was the second to last game that he got hurt in?
If it wasn't the second to last one, it was close.
Yeah.
Which might as well be the end of the season one way or the other. ACLs require a minimum of 9 months to recover. And some require a year, maybe more.
Yeah. It's always fun to talk about ACL injuries and all of the things that they've got over there. I don't want to talk about offensive line right now because I feel like we can get stuck in a debate about offensive line. I will say this, though. The Washington Commanders need to find a way to keep Tyler Biadasz. I love Tyler Biadasz whenever he was on the Dallas Cowboys. That's the glue guy. Plus, he's really good at what he does as a center, holding down the fort on your offensive line. He's always available for you. He's always healthy. Whatever team goes out there and gets him is going to get instantly better on the offensive line because they have him. And if Washington wants to try to make amends for how bad this last season was, they need to find a way to keep a guy like that because you cannot have a turnstile on your offensive line. We saw what happened to Jaden Daniels' arm. You can't let your quarterback get hit like that.
No, you can't. And I still cringe whenever I picture that injury happening to him because I think it happened here.
Normally, the injury you see that makes you cringe is like the leg injury, right? I have not seen
I'm squeamish.
I have not seen an arm bend that way. And I'm not a squeamish guy, and I even thought to myself, I cannot see that again.
No, you can't. It's like and he almost came back. He claimed he was almost, back. But ultimately they did hold him out, which they should have done in the first place. Their season was essentially over at that point.
All right. We teased it a little earlier, and I am going to give you all now 37 seconds of just beautiful mullet glory. There is no audio on this, but you can see the way that thing is flowing. Look at that, Sean. That makes me like jealous hair-wise.
Oh, it makes me jealous too. And how many people are thinking of like some music going on in their head right now when they think of maybe Fabio?
Yeah.
who you kind of think of when you see a hairstyle like this? Just the music playing in the background whenever somebody like this is running.
Rock you like a hurricane.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is just a thing of beauty. Oh my god, what's Dunker? I know his last name is Dunker, but I can't think of his first name right now.
Well, this guy's hairstyle reminds me a little bit of what TJ Hawkinson did a few years ago, just a big old mullet growing out the back under his helmet.
But
this guy's hair is much better than his, though.
You saw it, man. Like in slow motion, that thing was just flowing. It was a thing of epic beauty. And again, like I've got halfway decent hair, I guess. But man, that thing was just beautiful. Beautiful. I've never been jealous of another man's head of hair more than I have been with old Dunker here. But again, a great name too.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm certainly jealous of his hair, the way my hairline looks here for the top. Nobody should be balding at my age, but then again, genetics. But
Jennings Dunker is his name. Jennings Dunker. Okay. He is going out there on the offensive line. The Dallas Cowboys need to find a way. This guy, right, just based off his hair, should be a top 5 pick.
When was the last time you saw that in this league, though?
Yeah. Just based off of good looks, you become a top 5 pick. I mean, hell, Arch Manning's going to be a top 10 pick just based off of his last name.
Yep. Everybody thought he was going to be NFL royalty, but very uneven season last year in Texas, especially at the beginning.
So Augustine said it's going to be interesting. Imagine if he goes to the Colts. Imagine if Arch Manning goes to the Colts.
Oh, my.
But, I mean, the nepotism, right? Like, you can't. It's just the Colts right now, I feel like they have a good roster surrounding them. And if they bring in a guy like Arch Manning, I don't think it's going to pan out well for them.
Well, and they're not going to do it for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
One, they tagged Jones today.
The rarely used transition tag.
Yes. It's probably going to mean the end of Richardson's time there. And I think the biggest thing is if Arch Manning does end up going to the Colts, which he won't, there's going to be more pressure on him than you would normally see because his uncle Peyton played there and succeeded so much there. I think playing in the place where you could be expected to be every bit as good, as your uncle was, I think that would put more pressure on a guy. He needs to make a name for himself on a different team, do his own thing, his own way.
So your Vikings here might be trading some people because they got some salary cap issues. What are you thinking about your team and some of the options that are out there for them?
Well, we mentioned Jones already, as sad as that was, the UTEP guy. We know for sure he's going to be traded. He and Hargrave. Jonathan Grenard, we mentioned pass rushers. They're open to trading him. He'd be a good name out there. He was an all-pro. He's a guy who some teams could target in a trade. I hear the Vikings at least want a day 2 pick for him. Other salary cap problems. Some can be reset by, extensions, contract bonuses, things like that. Problem is, Vikings, I think, have the second worst salary cap in the league. That's a lot of money they got to shut off. So, and that's the problem with what happened last year because, 9-8 is very mediocre for how much they spent. So, and now they're feeling the consequences of it with all these moves they're going to have to make. With Jones being gone, it sounds like they're going to target a running back in the draft to be that 1-2 punch with Jordan Mason, who I like a lot.
To me, it feels like last year was the growing pains with JJ McCarthy, right? Like I feel like he'll get better. I feel like there's a lot of upside there. He was super inconsistent. And I think, you get that consistency with reps and with experience and in practice and getting with the team and doing all that stuff. So hopefully this upcoming season gets a little bit better for them. But you're right. Like the amount of money they spent to go 9-8. Again, I'm a Cowboys fan. I know all about teams spending a lot of money, kind of, but not doing what they think they should do or what we as fans want them to do. So I
hope you're right about JJ. Yeah, and I hope you're right about JJ McCarthy. There are some mechanics I see him needing to work on. He needs to stop throwing fireballs every time he throws those out routes.
We get it. You have a cannon. Don't use the cannon all the time.
He's capable of putting touch on his throws. I saw it last year when I attended a couple training camp sessions. So he's got it there, and maybe that's what will benefit him too. Is some guy competing with him, maybe bringing out the better in him. He won't have faced pressure like this since he came into the league. Somebody who's essentially breathing down his neck, and hopefully, for first sake, he brings out his best. Otherwise, unfortunately, he might be heading for bust territory.
Yeah. I'm always, especially
it's tough to say.
The resurgence of Sam Darnold and stuff. It's so hard for me to say someone's going to wind up being a bust because maybe all they need is a different change in scenario. But the difference between what Sam Darnold had in New York with the Jets and the roster that the Vikings have surrounding JJ McCarthy, if you can't be successful with that, it's probably you, right? Like that's the issue.
More often than not, we don't see it enough in the league. You can be a product of your system, a success or a failure. It's often not just what you're surrounded with talent wise, but how you're coached. Quarterbacks are often made scapegoats of a systematic failure, and the New York Jets, unfortunately, are one of those poor examples of a total system failure up and down.
All right, Sean, we are up against the clock. Tell everybody where they can follow you, all the other shows you might be on, some of the other stuff you got going on. Let the people know.
All right. As you can see in the subtitles below, you can follow me on Facebook at lowercase Sean.Davich, on Twitter /X, whatever you prefer, at Sean Davich, uppercase S&D. Every so often on Instagram, not as much as I am on these two platforms. Sean J. Davich is how you can find me there. And how about you? How do we find you?
at Mr. Tipton 33 on all social media. I had to go with Mr. Tipton 33. It stands for Michael Robert Tipton, but most people just say Mr. Tipton. So I'm leaning in to the Mr. Tipton 33 on all the various social media platforms. Sean, my friend, it's been fun. I always enjoy these days. I missed you guys last week. I'm glad to see you again. And I hope that we have a great week and a bunch of NFL news going forward.
We missed you too. We held on without you, but it's not the same without you.
We'll see you
always
all
fun getting into these conversations very much.
We'll see you all later, everybody. Have a great week.
Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.